Hello, guys. Welcome to Hotspot Economics. Hotspot. And if you haven't done so already, please hit the like button, like my video, and of course, subscribe. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can get that notification. So, I want to talk about something really interesting today. I know my channel's about economics, and there's so much happening with cryptocurrency. So, cryptocurrency are our electric currency. So basically, it's virtual currency, and the most popular one is what? Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's been around for quite some time. There's a lot of Bitcoin millionaires walking around. I would say definitely be careful, just period, where you're investing in regards with Bitcoin. Make sure it's a legitimate investor. Make sure it doesn't sound too outlandish. And take your, if you have the money to invest, go right ahead. If you have the money to risk, go right ahead. I've been hearing some crazy things about, oh, Bitcoin's not backed by anything and it's just people mining for money. I want to let people know that your dollar in your hand is only as good as United States, meaning that that dollar is not redeemable or backed by an actual valuable resource. And the reason I'm saying that is because I'm not too sure when, but there was a time period when the American dollar was actually redeemable in gold. That's why we have something called the Fort Knox. So just in case anything actually happened to the American government or the American country as you know it fall, you can actually take that money and redeem it and get something back for it. Of course, that's not the deal right now. If you look on your dollar, it should say that this tender is legal tender. So why it says legal, it means that as long as United States is law, it is legal tender. Also, what protects American money is two major things. That a lot of people have American assets. A lot of people have American dollars in circulation, not physical paper dollars, but actual American investments that will be paid with American tender. So that actually helps to protect the American dollar. Just like cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency gets its value because people are using it, people are investing in it. The more it's utilized, the more it's worth. Just like American money. Now, people will say, Connie, American has bonds and savings bonds. Yeah, well, savings bonds are worthless if the actual country that, is producing them falls apart. So I'm trying to show you guys that it's not that big of a stretch. The reason why Bitcoin is so threatening is because it's not regulated. The federal banks, the central banks, don't really have a grasp on it, and they don't like that. So I want to show you this short video of what happens when a country tries to actually back their currency by gold. All right, so I'm going to watch this video with you. It's 3 minutes, and I might pause it here and there to jump in. Let's go! Has what?
According to some, it's about protecting civilians.
And our resolve is clear. The people of Libya must be protected.
Others say it's about oil.
The only reason they're interested with Libya is about the oil. You'd think we'd be in Iraq if the major export there was broccoli.
But some are convinced intervention in Libya is all about currency, specifically Gaddafi's plan to introduce the gold dinar, a single African currency made from gold.
So I want to pause it right there. So the gold dinar was supposed to unify the entire continent of Africa. So Africa has about 54 nations. And if you don't know this, you should know by now, most of the world's precious metals and golds come from where? The continent of Africa. But Africa is ravaged with poverty. Africa is ravaged with, a lot of crazy crap, a lot of corruption. So, Gaddafi was a leader in the sense where he wanted to try to get all the African nations to actually put all their wealth together in terms of gold and make a gold back currency. So what that means is that if you had an African unified dollar, if this actually happened, it'll be an African, like an EU, like they have the European Union, it'll be the African Union. So if you had an African Union dollar, you can actually go anywhere in the world and redeem that for gold. So that's what he wanted. He wanted to create a currency that was worth something beyond the actual paper.
A true sharing of the wealth.
It's one of these things that you have to plan almost in secret. because as soon as you say you're going to change over from the dollar to something else, you're going to be targeted. There were two conferences on this, one in 96 and another one in the year 2000, called the World Mataba Conference, organized by Gaddafi. And everybody was interested. I think most countries in Africa were keen.
Gaddafi didn't give up. In the months leading up to the military intervention, he called on African and Muslim nations to join together to create.
So basically what Gaddafi was doing was going beyond Africa. He was also going into rich Muslim countries like Saudi Arabia and Qatar and Monaco. He wanted to eliminate paper money that he saw as corrupt because he's trying to say, okay, you're attaching all this worth to American money backed by what? Technology? Or is it backed by silver? Or is it backed by diamonds? He basically was insinuating that American wealth is false. There's nothing holding up our wealth except for the fact that we say so. Just like cryptocurrency. You guys, kind of go teacher. Okay, that's why I made this channel, Headset Spot, to educate you guys. American money is legal tender. If you went to the bank and took out $100,000 and say, I would like to redeem this in silver, or I would like to redeem this in gold, you would get actually nothing. It's just money in essence, just like cryptocurrency. Let's just say, God forbid, knock on wood, let's just say America was invaded by Soviet Union, Korea, and Russia tomorrow, and the entire American government fell. You could not redeem your money, your paper money, anywhere in the world because it's just paper money as long as the government is active. Now, that's not something for you to worry about, but it is something for you to be concerned about because if they're not getting their wealth from physical assets, just how are they controlling debt? Just how are they controlling inflation? How are we controlling how much each dollar is worth? So it's really interesting. I'm going to play the rest of the video for you guys.
Create this new currency that would rival the dollar and euro. They would sell oil and other resources around the world only for gold dinars. It's an idea that would shift the economic balance of the world. Countries' wealth would depend on how much gold they have, not how many dollars they trade. And
did you hear that? Countries' wealth would depend on how much gold they had, not how much dollars they trade. This is what you call a asset-backed asset. So when people are saying, oh, I can't get involved in cryptocurrency, no, nothing is backed. Look what happens when you try to back a currency with a physical aspect, because you can't lie anymore. Once you have a physical aspect behind it, whether it's gold or silver or even oil, you can't inflate and, adjust prices and do whatever you want and have this really complicated code. It's either you have the assets to back it or you don't.
And Libya has 144 tons of gold. The UK has double that, but 10 times the population.
If Gaddafi had an intent to try to reprice his oil or whatever else the country was selling in the global markets and accept something else as a currency, or maybe launch a gold dinar currency, any move such as that would certainly not be welcomed by the power elite today who are responsible for controlling the world's central banks. So yes, that would certainly be something that would cause his immediate dismissal and the need for other reasons to be brought forth for removing him from power.
So just before we continue, to make it clear, if you went into a asset-backed asset, or an asset backed by a physical thing of worth, like gold or diamonds, that is threatening because bankers are actually making money out of thin air. I've been trying to understand the math. There is no equation. There is no computation. There is actually nothing that makes me understand where each dollar gets its worth from, where each dollar gets its value from, beyond the savings bond, because the savings bond is the promissory note guaranteed for a certain amount of American dollars. But where does that worth come from? Is it because it's attached to the tech industry, which can't be because tech is new? Is it attached to precious resources, which is not because you can't redeem it? So Having this really shrouded secret way is a way for people who have a mass amount of wealth, like the central banks, to continue holding on to it because that's truly not regulated. The Federal Reserve is not regulated.
It's happened before. In 2000, Saddam Hussein announced Iraqi oil would be traded in euros, not dollars. Sanctions and an invasion followed. Some say because the Americans were desperate to prevent OPEC from transferring oil trading in all its member countries to the euro.
So just to stop you right there, another thing that gives the American dollar its dominance is that the American dollar is OPEC. OPEC is oil, petroleum, energy. That's where we get our oil from. So every country in the world has to buy and sell oil using only American dollars. Saddam Hussein wanted to change over and make it to euros, and he kind of got invaded not too long after.
A gold dinar would have had serious consequences for the world financial system, but may also have empowered the people of Africa, something black activists say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
The United States should welcome the self-determination of Africans. They certainly have denied self-determination to Africans inside the United States, so we're not surprised by anything that the United States would do to hinder self-determination of Africans on the continent.
So basically, this type of currency would have actually unified the the continent of Africa. It would have broken down borders and forced 54 nations, at least on some level, to work together and to share a common ground. And I truly believe that would help to knock out corruption. The reason why I think Africa, this is my personal commentary from what I've saw based on facts. The reason why I think Africa has so much challenges, you just have too many nations on one continent. You're talking about 54 nations, 54 flags, 54 nationalities, a range of religions. This is a massive continent, a massive continent. And the more you break it up into pieces, the more it's going to be almost impossible to have consistency of wealth, finance, peace, and growth across this massive landmass. So if you were to actually say to the entire 54 nations that we're going to share one common economy, we're going to share one common, money, we're going to share one common investment, this is going to be the gold. It's very threatening because it's harder to manipulate. It's harder to have corruption, which is a form of control. It's harder to, get people confused when you're unified. So unification of Africa was not in the best interest of the global market.
The UK's gold is kept here in a secure vault somewhere in the depths of the Bank of England. As in most developed countries, there's not enough to go around. But that's not the case in places like Libya and many of the Gulf states. A gold dinar would have given oil-rich African and Middle Eastern countries the power to turn around to their energy-hungry customers and say, sorry, the price has gone up and we want gold. Some say the US and its NATO allies literally couldn't afford to let that happen.
So basically, if that happened, America would see its wealth drop dramatically, and the world would start to question, hey, just what is their dollar worth? Just what is this cash worth? Is it just because America is making money and making money out of thin air? It's kind of hard, but once you learn quantitative easing and how the Fed actually makes money, and we're going to talk about that in the next video, you're going to be very shocked that much of capitalism is created. It's just a standard. Even when you take out a loan, the bank doesn't even have that actual money they're loaning you. By USA law, banks only need to have 10% on deposit what they loan out. Let's say it again. Banks need to only have 10% on deposit what they loan out. So this is fascinating to me.
Laura Emmett, RT, London.
All right, so the video ends there. And I want to thank you guys for being here. If you have any questions, as normal, hit up my comment sections. All my comments are under review, so I have to go through them and review one by one because I'm really selective about, what's on my comment section. Not for criticism, but The crazy profanity things, the cursing, I won't tolerate it, because I do have teachers who've contacted me and told me they'll like to use some of my content for educational purposes. So yes, I want to make sure that my comments are clean. So guys, disagree, agree, write in the comments